Hello and welcome to Sorry? You're serious? You really want me to do this? Okay. Bonjour et bienvenue à tous à Pyrenees. C'est très belle, n'est pas? That's about as much as you're going to get, okay? Can I switch back? Thank you. Right. Hello and welcome to Dreams of Wings, and welcome here to Pyrenees for what is going to be a beautiful flight in the brand new Black Square TBM 850. We're going to take across the Pyrenees and down to Barcelona, doing a full IFR flight with ATC. Really wanting to test myself in this aircraft, having not flown it, and also just checking that my ATC and all that sort of thing is working as well. For ATC, I'm using Pilot to ATC. For anyone who's noticed, by the way, that there is un chien dans l'avion, don't worry. It's a new rule with the CAA that if a British pilot is flying a TBM abroad for the first time, he has to have a safety dog on board the aircraft while the aircraft is being boarded and doing the initial check. So don't worry about that. He won't be there while we're flying. It's just something that we have to have now. Anyway, yes, so going to be taking, I just know it's going to be a beautiful flight. This is a really gorgeous route. Whether you're going low level or whether you are just hopping across the mountains doing an IFR route as we're going to do today. It's a lovely route, and I'm really interested to see how the aircraft performs and how the system's going to work. This is the first time I have properly flown this aeroplane. I did a quick kind of test flight the other day, but I haven't really used the autopilot systems in any real way, so interested to see how that works. Also with the added challenge of doing the ATC as well, using Pilot to ATC for that. So it's not a human, it is a computer, and I'm using a beta version, so sometimes things can go a little bit strange, so you just have to bear with me with that. But anyway, let's get cracking. Right, here we go. Well, it's very difficult to be in a TBM 850 and avoid doing some Steve-O kind of cliches. But as he gets in through the back, then that's exactly how we're going to do it. So we've come in through the back door, and we're now going to close it all up. At this point, you see the outside shot of him crouching here as he does it. See, those have all turned green now. That shows that we've got a good lock, so that's great. Incidentally, the little cabin door, baggage door that we saw out there as well, you close that by clicking the keys there, the baggage door keys. The passengers obviously trusted to keep hold of those, so we're quite happy to let them do that. Let's now jump to the front. Right, there we are. We are sitting in the cockpit now, so let's raise that. Close the door. Watch that. Turn green. That shows we've got a good lock for when we're pressurized. Close these engine panel doors here. We just give that a flick there and do the same on the one on the other side. Nice and simple. Easy peasy. Right. Okay. So, two things to tell you at this point. One, we have a Discord. If you want to join the Discord, I'll put a link down below, but we chat about aeroplanes on there, especially things with propellers. We share screenshots. We have group flights. There's some very clever technical types on there, so if you've got any questions about simming or all that sort of thing, there's some very lucky to have some really great, clever people on there. Really is a great community. And it's kind of grown organically. So we've also got a section now on model making, and there's also a section on flight tracking, and also a section on photography. So if you are interested in chatting to a bunch of fellow propeller heads, then come along to the Discord. And as I say, I'll put a link to that down below. Also, just very quickly to say, we're now on Twitch. Don't have a regular broadcasting. Blimey, doesn't that sound? I'm a broadcaster, don't you know? It doesn't have a schedule, is what I'm trying to say at the moment. It's just as and when. But again, I'll put the link down below. It'd be great to see you over there as well. And it's always quite interesting doing the live thing and chatting to people as I fly. Quite enjoy that. Right. So what was it? Oh, the other thing I was going to say is I wasn't going to do the full checklist because I thought it might bore you senseless doing that. But I know some of you will want to see the checklist, so you have an option at this point. You have been warned. I'm going to put I'll put chapters in, and I'll put a chapter in so that you can fast forward now to the taxi point if you want to do that. So if you want to do that, click on taxi now. Okay, if you're still here, then I take no responsibility for the fact that you've now got to sit through the entire checklist, which, because I'm new to the aeroplane, is not going to be slick, fast, and anything like that. I'll try and make it as quick as I can, but yeah, you're just going to have to take it as it comes, I'm afraid. Right, okay. Okay, let's start running through it. So, crash lever up. Up it goes. Source selector is off. Generator selector is main. There we go. Starter is off. Ignition, auto or on or on? Auto or off? Let's stick it on to auto. Exterior lights are all off. Gyro instruments are all off. Emergency lights test. So this is a bit of a funny one, but there's the light there. So if I just angle my bonds, there we go. So you can just, I don't know if you can easily see it because it's so light, but watch that there. And then as you'll see, if I wind it back again, it will get dim. So that's just kind of testing the, come back. There we go. Testing the emergency light. Circuit breakers, you do have to check all these because it does simulate circuit breakers popping out, so we just have to have a quick look and check that everything's in, and it is. De-icing switches are all off. Landing gear is down. There we go. That was because my physical controller was in the up position, so this is why it's always great to check that. Autopilot and trim master is off. Radio master is off. Bleed air is off. And where's it gone? Bleed air is off. Air conditioning is off. Dump switch is guarded. Ram air handle is pulled in, or pushed in rather. Get it right. Auto fuel selector is off. Doesn't look it there, but that is actually in the off position. Looks like it's on, but it's not. It's off. Tank selector, left or right? Let's go left. Actually, while we're doing it, let's stick some fuel in. Oh, it's interesting. It remembers. So, confession time. I am having to restart this video because I started this video and then I had technical issues with the ATC. We're using Pilot to ATC. I had technical issues, which meant that because it seems that because it gave me an instruction directly after a frequency change, and because I had the co-pilot set to change frequencies, it somehow blocked the frequency change on my TDS, and I couldn't change frequencies on it. And I spent so long trying to figure it out, the video just turned into a big troubleshooting video, and I thought, this is crazy. So I canned the video. So it's interesting. The fuel that's in the aeroplane is perpetual because that's kind of what I had in it at the point that I canned it. So that's interesting. Blah, 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 blah. Technical terms for you there. Very sorry about that. Right, ELT armed. That's there, and that is armed. Parking brake is set. We've done that. Manual override lever is off. Power lever, flight idle. There we go. propeller lever, max RPM. Just quickly, because of the limitations of simulating beta range in the sim, what they've done is a clever thing, so that if you have the power lever down here at flight idle, it also kind of simulates the kind of having the beta region, where if it's in flight idle, and you have the brakes off, the aircraft isn't going to go rocketing forward, as you sometimes get in some turboprops and simulators. There is a manual way that you can rig that up to controllers, so you can have more control over it if you want to do that, which again is rather cool. Right, propeller lever, max RPM, we've done that. Condition lever is cut off. Flap control is up. Yes, flap control is up. Let's just, yeah, it is up. Just checking it's not in TBM mode. TBM 850 mode. We'll talk more about that later. Flap control is up, and battery bus power check supply. Now, I am not entirely sure what I am meant to do for that, because down here, was it down here? Was it downhill? Or was it over here? Oh, there we go. We've got this here, which is to do with bus ties. I'm not sure if there is another indication or another instrument somewhere. Maybe it's hidden behind that. Yeah, not really seeing anything there. So I'm not quite sure what I should be testing looking at that. It says check supply. What did it say? Exactly. Battery bus power, check supply. I mean, does it literally mean turn the battery on and see that we've got supply? Or we have? Maybe that's what that means. I don't know. Right, source selector, battery or GPU? Well, let's go GPU because we're fanning about on the ground. Actually, no, let's go battery. Right, volts above 25. Just slightly under it. Probably can, because of all the messing about I was doing before. Right. Exterior lights panel, light test. So we do that there. That's fine. Fuel gauges, check quantity. They're good. Advisory panel, check 1 and 2. So let's go 1. Come here, get the click spot. There's 1, all lit up. There's 2, all lit up. Oxygen annunciator is extinguished. That's good. So we can have an oxygen supply. Interior lights as required. Don't need anything at the moment. But I do like lights. I do like lights. Why don't we... Let's have a bit of light. Let's have a bit of light. Okay. Interior lights, environmental panel light test. That's over here, isn't it? There we go. So that comes on to show us if there's going to be a fault. Environmental, we've done that. Flaps down. And let's check our landing gear light. There we go. Test 1 and test 2. And yeah, we can see the flaps have gone down. Okay, pitot heat 1 on. And we can see that we've enunciated the pitot heat, or pitot 1 in the enunciator has gone out. Pitot heat 2 and stall heat as they've gone out now. De-icing panel light test, that is there. All the lights come on, fantastic. And source selector now goes off. Okay. Pre-flight inspection is complete. Nose baggage door is closed. The engine compartment is closed. Cabin access door is latched and pilot door is latched. So we're good to go there. Parking brake is set. Seats and seat belts are fastened. Oxygen pressure. Let's check the oxygen pressure. I'm used to it being over here in the King Air, so now I'm. Where is the oxygen? Where is the oxygen? There it is. Is it up there? No. Oxygen. Oh, it's up there, isn't it? I need to angle my glasses. Yeah, the oxygen pressure's good. Oxygen supply on. That's fine. Passenger oxygen off. There we go. It's just hidden. I wear glasses, and unfortunately, if I angle my head up using my head tracking, that is, there we go. I can see it now. Right, that's off. Microphone selector, normal. I don't know where the microphone selector is, actually. Oh, it's there, yeah. Normal. You put it to mask, I think you've got the oxygen mask on. Starter is off. Ignition is auto. Landing gear control is down. Okay, so we're going to, the next section on the checklist is on if clearance required. So with the battery off, bear with me. Sorry about that. Having a bit of a cough there. I'm feeling a bit ropey, which is going to make this even more interesting for you, I think. Right, where did I get to? Right, yes. So one of the cool things about this, with the battery off, if I turn on the radio master, it just gives us juice to our GTN here so that we can use the radio. So, with some trepidation, because the radio was not working before in the previous flight, once old Hal...
TOS, system test OK.
HAL 9000 took over. Let's see if everything's going to work now. So let's dial in the ATIS. 128.47. Transfer.
PAL Pyrenees Information Whiskey. 1330 Zulu, winds are 310 at 4 knots. Visibility 6 miles. Sky condition VFR. Temperature 30, dew point 14. Current QNH is 1022. Arriving and departing runway 13. PAL Pyrenees Information Whiskey. 1330 Zulu, winds are 310 at 4 knots. Visibility 6 miles. Sky condition VFR. Temperature 30, dew point 14. Current QNH is 1022. Arriving and departing.
Okay, so that's interesting. So ATC has changed my runway direction. It's saying runway direction is 13, but my flight plan is calling for 31. So I'm not sure how it's going to how that is going to work when we actually go to take off. When I did the previous version of this flight, which wasn't that long ago, this afternoon, it gave me the correct runway. So it's giving us a different runway direction this time. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. Anyway, I'll call up for our clearance and see what they say. So 121.75. Okay, let's call them up. Ground TBM Golf Delta Romeo Mike Sierra, ready to copy IFR clearance.
Golf Delta Romeo Mike Sierra is cleared to Lima Echo Bravo Lima, fly the SOVO2 Victor departure, with the Savos transition, then as filed. Expect departure runway 31. Climb to flight level 080 via the departure. Expect higher clearances 4 minutes after departure. Approach on 128.8. Squawk 3605.
Golf Delta Romeo Mike Sierra is cleared to Lima Echo Bravo Lima, fly the Sovo 2 Victor departure with the Sovos transition, then as filed. Climb to flight level 080 via the departure. Expect higher clearances 4 minutes after departure. Approach on 128.8, squawk 3605.
Golf Delta Romeo Mike Sierra read back correct. QNH is 1022, let us know when you're ready to taxi.
QNH 1022, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. TBM Romeo Mike Sierra ready for engine start.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra engine start approved.
Engine start approved, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Yeah, it's just getting the right phraseology is the key to it. Okay, slightly concerning that it doesn't seem to have registered that, so I'm just going to say that again. Engine start approved, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Okay, that's fine. We'll assume he's heard me. You normally get a little indication to show that the software has recognised that you've said it. Anyway, we've got more important things to do. Let's crack on. Right. Okay, where did we get to? Right, now we can put the... we'll turn that off. We'll turn that on. Okay. Right. Horn test. Hold. Where's the horn test? Where is the horn test? Where is the horn test? Is it up there? Where's the horn test? There we go. I'm pleased to say, ladies and gentlemen, that the horn is working. Thank you. Door annunciator is off. It is. Fuel gauges, check quantity, fuel's good. Auto fuel selector, auto. Wrong button, you idiot. There we go. There we go. Auto selector is on. Auto selector annunciator is extinguished. Auto fuel selector shift. Not quite sure what that means. Auto fuel selector shift. I've got two options. I've got auto or I've got may. Oh, shift. There's a button there. Okay, yeah, that's just checking it's changing over. Actually, if I zoom out a bit, you'd be able to see it. Look, if you watch there. There we go. Right, I must have missed a whole load of the checklist when I did this before because I don't remember doing any of this. Engine instruments. Check. Well, everything's off. We're not doing anything at the moment. We have got a temperature on the engine because we're sat sitting. So that's fair enough. Just cancel those. Right. ITT test hold. Get click spot, there we go. ITT test, so it goes all the way up. That's just checking that instrument is working so that we know that we're not doing anything untoward without being aware of it. So we've checked that, and exterior lights as required. So at this point we are going to whack on the nav and the strobe. It doesn't have a beacon light, so we'll use the strobe instead. Right, engine start battery, manual override lever is off, power lever is flight idle, propeller lever is max RPM. Condition lever is cut off. Source selector is battery. Auxiliary boost pump is on. There we go. We have got good fuel pressure, so that's absolutely fine. Auxiliary BP on annunciator is there, so that's showing that that's working. Fuel pressure annunciator is extinguished. We have got no fuel pressure, low fuel pressure indication there. Ignition, we want that now onto auto. Just double check, get the angle right, because that's actually on. We want it onto auto. There we go. Starter. Here we go. On. RNG stabilize just over around about 13, and then we go to low idle. There we go. Low idle. Check for a hot start. That's fine. Nice warm fuzzy feeling. Starter is flashing. Wait till NG gets to 50. Starter off. Bum 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 bum. No oil pressure warnings at all. That's fine. Now we can go to high idle. Auxiliary boost pump to auto. Check the engine instruments again. And do we have any issues over here? Do we have auxiliary BP on annunciator? No. Do we have a fuel pressure annunciator on? No. Do we have a main generator annunciator on? No. So that's all good. Our voltmeter is round about 28, which is where it should be. And our ammeter showing that we're charging ever so slightly in the positive there. Ever so slightly. Right, so that's all good. After starting engines, gyro instruments all on. Gyro section in the green. Where did you go? There we are. Look at that bobbling around. That's gone into the green now. I do love how all the little needles and everything, that, you know, there's movement in there, there's life in there. See how that's ever so slightly bobbing up and down? The vibration and everything, it's lovely. Right, prop de-ice on. Check green, yeah. Windshield on, green, yeah. Windshield on, green, yeah. That's fine. Airframe de-ice. Check that. And it's gone across. Perfect. That's great. Where did I get to? Where did I get to? I normally print my checklist off and have them right in front of me, but I'm looking at the checklist on another screen, which means I keep losing my place. Right, inertial separator on. We put that on as a protection for the engine so we don't start sucking bits and pieces in. So that's fine. What did I say? Inertial separator on. Ammeter is below 50 amps, which it most certainly is. Generator selector standby. Generator selector is now in standby, and voltmeter is about 28. It is just slightly under, and ammeter is 0 or charging, which it is. That's fine. And now we can put generator back to main. There we go. Generator's back to main. Flaps we can now raise. Bleed air we can put onto auto, and while we're at it, let's have the fans on as well. Make sure we start warming up or cooling down. It's saying the cabin temperature is high. What is the cabin temperature, you say? Oh, that's the outside air temperature. For some reason that's not displaying anything at the moment. There we go. Cabin temperature is 42 degrees, so that is blooming hot. So we need to start cooling that down nicely. Right, where on earth did I get to? Because I was waffling so much. Inertial separator we will leave on. We see we've got a light there. There is a, I don't know if you noticed when I switched it on before, that light didn't go on straight away. It does take a while for that. It's basically a door, for want of a better description. That means that the air, instead of going directly into the engine, it kind of gets diverted. So if there's any bits of stone or anything like that, or lumps of ice, they don't get sucked straight into the engine. So that's what that's all about. This simulation does simulate damage caused in that way, and it looks at the environment that the aircraft is in. Like if we were on a dirt strip now and we didn't have the inertial separator on, then you could actually do damage to the engine. I'm going to leave it on because some people actually do that just to be on the safe side, so I'm going to leave it on. Why not? It does mean that your power drops a little bit, but we've got a lovely long runway here, so we don't have to worry about that. Right, so where did I get to before I started waffling again? Power lever is flight idle. That's fine. Oh, hang on. No, we've jumped ahead here. After the starting engine. That's done. That's set. Cabin altitude. Right, interestingly, I had a problem with this before. It didn't work when I did it before. So let's try again. Bear with me while I have a cough. Thank God for a mic switch. So essentially, if I, what you're meant to do is set it to 500 feet below the airfield altitude. Let me just check that I'm saying that right. Field elevation minus 500 feet. So we are, I think this is about 600 odd feet here, so I'm not quite sure. I can set it as low as I can, but that needle just isn't moving, and this is what was happening before. It's not, I don't know if we're just so low that it's just not going to show a pressurization. I'd be really interested to know if there are any real-world pilots out there who are used to using this kind of equipment. What do you do in this scenario? If it, you know, assuming it's not a bug, assuming it's me being stupid, how can I test that when I'm at, you know, 600-foot elevation airfield, and turning this down doesn't have any effect? I'd be interested to know. Right, so where did I get to on there? Cabin temperature, cabin altitude, right. Because what we should do, the cabin climb rate, the arrow should be up. Well, it's not. Cabin climb rate, arrow up. I think that just means that the needle is going up. Right, weather radar off or in standby, so we've got that off and in standby, and now we can add the radio master on. There we go. EFIS master on. And this is kind of an old cathode ray tube technology here. This isn't like a modern digital, like an LED, what am I talking about, display, you know what I mean. This is old school, so it takes a while for it to warm up. And I've not tested it, but presumably if it was like really cold, it would take a bit longer to warm up. Right, AP master trim is on. Everything is, just have another quick look at that to check that it's all come as it should do, and it has done. Right, electric trims, let's just check. Yeah, elevator trim is quite happily letting me do that. Lost my position. AFIS HRS sources left. Taxi light on. Inertial separation annunciator is illuminated because we've got it on. Parking brake release. Actually, no, let's not. Okay, two things we need to do. First of all, we need to get the flight plan into the GTN before we start doing any taxiing.
TOS system test OK.
I think I went past it then. What is it? LFPB is what we're looking for. LFPB, LEBL, that's the one. LEBL? Yeah. Yes, that is our destination. Right, activate. Then we need to add our procedures. Now, I noticed before when I did this, there is a difference between the latest Navigraph AirRack and the one that's loaded into the Garmin Trainer, which is what the TDS uses. So, for example, we're meant to be on a SOVO 2V departure, but that doesn't exist in Garmin Trainer world yet. So we're going to go for 1V, and it did look like it was the same, and when I flew the previous one, I didn't get told off by ATC. So I think it's just a name change. Okay, so that's good. We've loaded that in, and then we need to load in our arrival, which is going to be a Grau to Whiskey, which again doesn't exist in Garmin Trainer world. So we have to go for a 1 Whiskey. There we go. I love the TDS GTN XI, I really do, but that's just this is one of the slightly slight inconveniences is when there is a difference between the Navigraph AirRack and the GTN trainer air rack, it can make things a bit more complicated, but most of the time, like we have here, it should be the same. Right, 10, what was it? 1022 was the QNH, so let's get that wound in. 1022, and what was the other thing? Oh yeah, the squawkage was 3605. So let's get that in, and let's change our. There we go. So that's who we are. Okay. Right, so we've done that. Where did we get to on here? Parking brake. Yeah, so we're going to check that. Right, so we need to say ready for taxi now. I apologise for the coughing. Ground, Tango.
Aircraft calling ground, say again with your call sign.
Ah, right, let's try that again. Ground, TBM, Romeo, Mike, Sierra, ready for taxi.
TBM, Romeo, Mike, Sierra, taxi to runway 31 via taxiways Charlie, November Golf, November Whiskey, November 5, hold short runway 31.
Now, what's interesting here, it did this the last time. That's runway 31. But what the taxiway instructions it's giving us are for runway 13. And it did this before. It gave a slightly different route, but it was tantamount to the same thing, sending us to the wrong runway direction. So we're going to ignore that. We're going to ignore ATC in the interests of passenger safety, and we're going to go with Frank Sinatra and do it my way. Okay, let's not jump ahead. All this stuff is in the checklist. Leave the switches alone. Trust in the checklist. Right, so parking brake, release. Parking brake annunciator has gone off, and let's check the toe brakes. Let's give it a few beans. And the brakes are working. That's absolutely fine. Let's have the master annunciator off while I remember to do it. It's always much easier if you get ahead of the game. So let's okay. Apologies again for the coughing. Okay, let's zoom in on here. And so we bid farewell to Pyrenees. So even you can tell from the runway signage that the taxi instructions that it's giving us are absolutely bonkers. Crazy, I tell you. This is certainly a very interesting aircraft to fly this, and my turboprop experience is really mainly with the Black Square King Air. And what's really interesting about this one, of course, is that this is the other aircraft that Black Square have been adaptations of the Asobo aircraft. This is actually a complete new aeroplane from Black Square. This is why we can open the doors and do things like that. So this is their first fully built aeroplane. I think the only similarities are it uses some of the engine sounds from the original, or it's adapted the engine sounds from the original Asobo TBM. But then they've also added their own sounds as well for other bits and bobs. So that's what makes it a bit different. Okay, we'll just come round to the holding point here. Be interesting to see after those taxi instructions what ATC does. Last time, normally when you get to the holding point for the correct runway, it will kind of preempt it, as a real world controller might do. And rather than wait for you, it might say, you know, clear to line up or contact you. But he hasn't on this one. Well, the previous flight, when I said ready for departure, he just gave me a takeoff clearance. He didn't say, you know, confer. You know, he didn't tell me to taxi to where he told me to taxi before. So anyway, let's have a look. Right, before takeoff, parking brake set. Parking brake annunciator is illuminated. Turn off the master warning. Terrain test. Let's have a bit of that.
Sync rate.
Sync rate.
Don't sync. Don't sync.
Checking all our warning lights as well.
Clause system test. Okay.
There we cycle through that. So now we've got to do the prop governor test. Now this one, I'll admit, is confusing. When I did this on the first attempt at the flight, I had to stop and go away and look it up again, and because you look at the checklist and it doesn't really quite make sense. So I'm going to try and remember to do it correctly now. So we put the power lever to 1900 RPM. And try and get it at 1900 RPM, boy. Coming back on the power now just to try and get it to 1900. Just have to find the sweet spot. There we go, that's 1900. We cycle the prop. And we see the RPM changing, and then we'll do it again, because on the checklist it does say to feather, so feather it. Watch that drop all the way down. That's working a treat. Let's go back up to 1900. And then what we want to do now is check that the governor is doing its job of governing, being the governor, and making sure that the naughty prop doesn't do anything other than what the governor is telling it to do. So we go down to 1800 RPM. We press the switch, and now if I drop the power even further and then put power on, it shouldn't go any higher than where it was before. Perfect. See how it's staying where it is? I'm moving the lever higher, but the RPM isn't changing. That shows that the it's listening to the governor. There we go. Right, we'll release the that switch now. Prop back up to 1900. There we go. So we know that we've got control over it now, and that's absolutely fine. Right. So, prop lever down to flight idle. The fuel imbalance is less than 15 gallons. We've got it on auto. Auxiliary boost pump is also set to auto. Auto fuel select shift to fullest. Well, they're both pretty much the same, although it could be that right has got a little bit more, and we are currently on right, so that's good. Flappage we will set to take off. Pitot heat, let's have the pitot heat on. And de-icing systems, don't need to worry about that. Advisory panel all off, except a brake and inertial separator. That's fine, they're on, which is what they're meant to be. Engine instruments, is there anything daft going on there? No, there isn't. That's all good. It's in the greens, nothing to worry about. Flight controls, free and correct. There we go, and brilliant, love it. Ammeter below plus 50 amps. Yes, it is. Parking brake release, parking brake annunciator extinguished, and then strobe lights on. Okay, so that's fine. We can do that bit next when we get the clearance to move off. Okay. I didn't see anything about the weather radar. Maybe we do that next. Yeah, we do that next. We do that in the takeoff checklist. Okay. Back to ATC. TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, ready for departure, runway 31.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, this is POW ground on 121.75, please repeat your request.
That doesn't sound good. Ready for departure, runway 31, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, this is POW ground on 121.75, please repeat your request.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, holding runway 31.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, this is POW ground on 121.75, please repeat your request.
Okay. Let's just check our phraseology. Am I doing something silly? Just to confirm, what normally happens is at this point it would give me the tower frequency. It would tell me to change the tower frequency. Okay, so for some reason it's not accepting that, which it did before, so that's quite strange. Let's try, should we try a frequency change to tower? Have we got that here? Yeah. TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, request frequency change to tower.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, contact POW tower on 124.15, have a good afternoon.
Tower on 124.15, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Okay, come here. 124.15. Transfer. See what happens now. Tower TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, ready for departure, runway 31. Okay, it hasn't accepted that. Let's try again. Tower TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, ready for departure, runway 31.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, winds are 340 at 4 knots, cleared for takeoff, runway 31.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 31, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Woohoo! Yeah, sometimes you just have to try and steer it in the right direction, which that seems to have done. Or, as I say, normally what would happen is ground would tell you to switch to tower. They would give you the instruction to hand over to tower, which is really what should happen. But for whatever reason that didn't get triggered. Maybe something to do with the taxiing, the crazy taxiing instructions that it gave. But anyway, we're there now. So let's move forward. And I don't know why I did that in a bloody awful Sean Connery impression way. Let's have the landing lights on. Get out. Blooming menu. I hate that menu. That's why I use Flow. But I need to check actually to see if I can disable it, because I know before I couldn't because of some of the other add-ons that I had. Let's line her up and gently bring her to a halt. Okay, let's get a few things set up. So we'll have nav ready to go when we want it. We'll arm over there. Blah 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 blah. Cool. Okay. Takeoff checklist. HSI compass check. So just over there, and we are just over there. So that matches. That's good. Attitude check. Yeah. Not feeling nasty today, and not being irritable. Though I'm a little bit ill. So yeah. Altimeter check. We've done that. We've checked against the QNH 1022. And incidentally, that's about right for the airfield elevation as well, which, you know, is good. Oh, blimey, where was I? Getting carried away with altimeters. Weather radar, we can now have that on. Incidentally, very quickly, this is where you also have your failures. So you can select failure rates. You can look at, you know, if you think you've got an active failure, what is it? Oh, look at that! We've got one. We've got a failure, so it's already failed our propeller de-ice, which isn't showing because the light there is actually working. So if we were caught up and we had an issue, then we wouldn't have known about that. So let's take that out. Interesting. Wow. Already had a failure, and we wouldn't have known about it until we were up there. Interesting. Yeah, God, I was just trying to switch that on and I got carried away with that, didn't I? Oh, and also it'll show you your engine condition. So if we over rag the engine on takeoff or anything like that, then you'll see the damage accumulate there. Anyway, right, landing lights are on. We did that before. Interior lights did for takeoff. Haven't got them on. Cabin lights are off. Parking brake will release. Parking brake is off. Parking brake indicator is extinguished. Taxi onto the runway. We've done that. Oh, okay. I guess we're meant to do that just before you get onto the runway. Advisory panel all off except ignition and inert. We haven't got the ignition on because you only had the ignition on if you're in heavy precipitation, and we haven't got that. We've got ignition in auto. Flaps retract. No, that's after takeoff, I'm sure. We have the flappage on at the moment in takeoff mode. Right, okay, let's go. Oh, I tell you what I do want to do. Sorry, bear with me. This will mean nothing to you right now. But when I do the subsequent edit in the video, and hopefully there's a nice recording of me taking off from the outside, you'll be able to see it. And you'll think, ah, that's why he suddenly stopped, because he was firing up another piece of software like a complete amateur, because he hadn't got it set up originally. That's right, folks. Okay. Reminder to self, must do the cabin altitude very early on. Would really like to have done that before piling on the beans. Being a little bit overly cautious pulling back there. Right, positive rate of climb, gear up, tap the brakes. Something I didn't do also, which I should really have done, is set the heading knob to the runway heading on the HSI. So we'll just hold it there. It is It's a nice aeroplane to fly. I've not flown the TBM in real life, so I can't compare it to what what the real one would fly like, but it has a nice feel, and there's quite a lot of turbulence over here. It's because of that little bit of high ground there, but wow.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra contact Pyrenees approach on 128.8.
Jeez.
Enjoy your afternoon.
Approach on 128.8 TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Okay, let's have the... we really are getting buffeted around quite a bit here. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it onto autopilot. Half bank, soft ride. Because otherwise, if you don't put half bank in, it does what it's just done then, and it absolutely racks it round. So let's increase our rate of that. Right, let's change frequency. 1, 2.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra contact approach on 128.8.
Contact approach on 128.8 TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. I am sorry. 128.8. Transfer. Approach TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, climb to flight level 080.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra climb and maintain flight level 080.
Climb and maintain flight level 080 TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. As we're climbing to a flight level, I just changed the barometric setting there to standard. The transition altitude at this airport is can't see it. Anyway, I thought above 3,000 feet it's probably quite safe to change it, especially as we're being cleared to it.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra contact Bordeaux Center on 125.6. Have a nice day.
Centre on 125.6. Take care. TBM Romeo Mike Sierra.
Romeo Mike Sierra center frequency is 125.6.
Frequency is 125.6. Meridian 234. I've given the call sign for my VA. Oh, I hope this doesn't break the. Hope this doesn't break it. Frequency is 125.6 TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. It's when you do things like this you can break it. Okay, let's see if this works. Centre TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, climbing to flight level 080. Yeah, I've got an awful feeling I've broken it, because we're not getting a response now from ATC.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra
Oh.
climb to flight level 130.
Climb to flight level 130, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Well, that's just rude. So, Centre did pick us up, but they didn't acknowledge us. Right, come on. Sort this out. God's sake. We're getting cabin pressurization warnings soon if we don't get this sorted out. Right, let's just have a quick look at the checklist, just to make sure I've not missed anything. Oh, we can put it into 850 mode now. That's something that we missed. Oh, look at that. What a prat, left the flaps down. What a prat. Okay, now we can put it into 850 mode. And that gives us extra power. Unbelievable, leaving the flaps down. That's why checklists really are some of the things on there you think are so obvious, but it's why they're so useful. Because when you've got other things to think about, like after takeoff, I'm thinking about, is the ATC going to work? Is it going to throw a wobbly like it did before? I still haven't done the cabin pressure altitude. I've got to do that. And I go and miss something basic like not raising the flaps. We can have the landing lights off now. What an absolute idiot. This video really is, or this flight really is a good shakeout for me too. It's been a while since I've done this kind of flying in an aircraft like this, so it's it's good to get back into the right frame. So climb checklist, power lever, observe limits. Okay. Cabin altitude, cruise altitude plus 1,000 feet. Oh, okay, I put 500 in because I think that's what we did in the King Air, but let's go to 30,000. Cabin differential monitor.
Romeo Mike Sierra climb to flight level 190, contact Barcelona control on 119.45. Have a good afternoon.
Climb to flight level 190, centre on 119.45, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra center frequency is 119.45.
That's what I said. Frequency is 119.45 meridian, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Keep using the call sign for my VA. Right, 119 decimal. This is when it all went wrong on the previous flight. At this frequency change, it's accepted it. Before, it was taking it, moving to there, and then suddenly it was like, no, you can't have that frequency, and it was changing it round. We are more or less level, aren't we? Centre, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, climbing to flight level 130.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, good afternoon. Radar contact.
Technically, we were still climbing. So, everything's looking good so far. ATC's working. We have leveled off at 13, flight level 130. Unfortunately, they've not given us further climb.
Romeo Mike Sierra, expedite climb to flight level 190.
Did I miss that? Expedite climb to flight level 190, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Here's me.
Romeo Mike Sierra, expedite climb to flight level 190.
I missed that. I'm back. I didn't even climb and maintain flight level 190, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Come on. Kept my finger on the mouse button and didn't realise it was going crazy in the climb. So when did they tell me to climb to flight level 190? I'm just checking back through the ATC log now. Climb to flight level 190. Ah, it was when they gave me the instruction to change to centre. So I was so focused on the frequency change because I knew that's when it went wrong last time. I read it back, but I completely failed to actually initiate the climb. Oh, that's why flights like this are so good for me, because I don't do this kind of flying very often. When I do it, and a flight like this, it kind of blows off all the cobwebs. When you see someone who's really competent doing it, it looks so easy. But when you've got a lot of different things to do, a frequency change, you know, concern that something is about to go wrong, that you've seen go wrong before, all these kind of things, it's very easy to make stupid mistakes. And I always think they are, first of all, I always think they're worth keeping in videos, because it, you know, if anything, again, I know you're all too clever to make mistakes like that, of course, but it kind of shows what can go wrong. And also it's been quite transparent about making errors. And a lot of this for me is actually, I'm not making a video to show you how to fly TBM or to show you how to use ATC. I'm just making a video like you're flying along with me. Although you do have quite a slightly worried expression on your face right now. But I think it's important to leave the mistakes in there. And I certainly learn from them, that's for sure. But this aircraft is rather lovely. Lots of power. And it's great to be able to fly Steve-O's aeroplane. You can actually fly his livery. But I'm sure there's a lot of us that got to know the TBM and got to like it through his channel. And it's a shame that he's no longer with his original TBM. Yeah, it's been great watching him over the years, and just flying this beautiful aeroplane. I'm not sure why I like it so much. I think it's probably because it's not big, it's not overly complicated, but it's got a complication to it. It's certainly very different to flying a Spitfire. There's a lot more things that you have to remember that you need to do. There's things that you've got to remember to do correctly. Yeah, and it's interesting. It's getting into a new flow. I felt this with the King Air, like with the checklist at the beginning. It took a while to get to a point where the checklist just flowed quickly and naturally, and that's all practice, isn't it? Right, quick look around. Everything looks fine. It's going to give it a little bit more power. It feels very strange. Just watching the talk there. It feels very strange. If you look in the manual, it basically is saying fly it balls out. So you've got it in 850 mode. You've got 2,000 RPM on the prop, and you're flying it at what was it? 121% on the torque, and that just feels so wrong. But that's what it tells you to do. What you can do, actually, if you wanted a quieter cabin. So, for example, on the King Air, I would normally bring the RPM down to about 1600. So we can kind of do that. If I bring the RPM down a bit, it's interesting. Got a master warning, come on talk. That's okay, that's just because I'm... Oh, that's why. It wasn't that to do with that, it was the... it's just warning us that the torque was exceeding slightly. Ah, that's what it is, of course. So lowering the prop, put the torque up. So let's put the torque down. Put it down to 100. Of course, it's just bog standard, isn't it? Power down, you do the throttle first, then you do the prop. I guess it's as simple as that, isn't it? So let's bring the prop down now. Look at the torque. See how the torque is kind of tickling up? So we'll put the prop down to 1800, and then we'll put the power back up again. There we go. So you see how it's quieter because the prop isn't going full bore. it's a little bit quieter, so we could just leave it there. That's absolutely fine. Interestingly, centre hasn't given us any more altitude increases. Normally, what I was saying before, which was quite funny because I didn't realise I'd made a mistake and then the ATC chipped in. Normally, just as you're getting to the point where you level out, ATC will give you the the clearance to climb further. And in real life, that's kind of what a good controller will do. He'll see where your aircraft is coming to, and if he can see a safe opportunity to climb you, he'll give you that clearance before you start thinking about levelling off. And Pilot to ATC mimics that quite well. For whatever reason, it's holding us here at flight level 190, and with the mistake I made earlier, I am not going to argue with it. Now, it could well be that the the ATC program doesn't necessarily agree with the flight plan altitude that SimBrief has put in. SimBrief has put in a cruise altitude of flight level 290, which is just under the service ceiling of the aircraft. But as I say, ATC is holding us at 19, so we'll see what it does now. Could be a reason for it. Who knows? Who knows in the big mysteries of air traffic control? Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. A bit of wing flex going on, or am I imagining it? Yeah, I think I'm just imagining that. It's always interesting flying an aeroplane that has consequences to it. Like here, it's telling us that we exceeded the torque because of me buggering about with the prop lever when I still had full power on. I mean, that's just a basic error, isn't it? This is quite useful, actually. It's got all sorts of different things that you can, different modes, different information you can get from it. Got a nav page, give you GPS coordinates, your ETA to the next waypoint, all that kind of stuff. It's quite useful little things, because remember, you might not necessarily have excuse me, I'm so sorry. You might not necessarily have a nice shiny colourful GTN, or you might just be flying on the Billy Basics, which you can do. Here you can select what you're using, what nav instruments you have. So that's when something like that can actually give you a whole host of extra information. Hoping that you can actually hear the ATC. Normally you can do when I've videoed these before. I have got the volume up high on it, so hopefully you can hear that. If not, you're probably thinking, who the hell does he think he's talking to? Kind of almost looks like we're carrying a missile on the wing thing is the weather radar. Has to be situated nicely away from everything else, of course, and can't really stick it on the spinner. Over here, fuel pressure's okay, that's fine. The fuel switcheroo is working perfectly. Got a reasonable speed. What's our ground speed? 300 knots, that's okay, happy with that. Pyrenees looking rather splendid. And over there we have the slightly flatter ground of Spain. Now, you wouldn't have heard that because she gave an instruction just when I was in the outside view, and the engine is so loud that you can't hear anything. So when I read it back, you'll understand what was just said. Expect the GRAU 2 Whiskey arrival with the grouse transition for the ILS Yankee approach to runway 24 right with the SL2W transition. TBM Romeo Mike Sierra.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra negative. Expect the ILS Yankee approach to runway 24 right.
Expect the ILS Yankee approach to runway 24 right.
Aircraft calling center, say again with the call sign.
Expect the ILS Yankee approach to runway 2 right. TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Yeah. Sometimes the speech recognition doesn't work all that brilliantly. Right, so what did it say? So the new piece of information that we've got is the GRAU 2 Whiskey arrival, which is what we were expecting with the SL. Oh, it's a different transition to runway 24. Oh no. Transition's correct for the star. And then we've got, let's plug it in. We have got a new procedure, which is the approach, which is the ILS Yankee approach to runway 24 right. So let's cycle down. ILS Yankee approach to 24 right. ILS 24 right, Yankee. And the transition was SLL2W. Brilliant. We don't have anything that looks like that, but we do have an SLL, so we're going to go with that and we'll load it, and hopefully that is correct. What I will do as a backup is now in my Navigraph charts. I will now add that. So it was the ILS. Sorry for the odd head angle in this, by the way, it's because I'm looking up at a screen. So it was the ILS Yankee approach to 24 right. ILS Yankee to 24 right. There it is. Add to route. Coolio. Right, that's now loaded in. So that's in my Navigraph charts. So we can get that plate up and ready. When I live stream, I do have a way of switching, because I don't record these videos in OBS, but I do record, obviously when I'm streaming I do record using OBS, so I can actually switch to show these screens, which I know some people like to see. Okay. Rightio. Okay. So we are coming in now. So yeah, I guess that's why ATC is kept at flight level 190. Not sure why. It could have climbed us to 290, but this is honestly the first time pilot to ATC hasn't climbed me to the flight plan altitude, so I'm not sure what's happened there, but quite happy to stick at 190. And I just realised I had set, because I'd assumed that it was going to take us to 190, I had overpressurised. So we can start depressurising. coming up to top of descent now, according to the ATC program. And our first point on the star got to be below flight level 280, which we are, so that's good. It's quite a neat feature, that, having an automatic tank switcher like that. It's quite handy.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra descent via the ground to Whiskey arrival with the grouse transition to cross SLL and or above flight level 060 QNH is 1024 and Joseph Taradell is L Pratt.
Descend via the ground to Whiskey arrival with the grouse transition to cross SLL at or above flight level 060 QNH is 1024 TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Okay, let's have a quick look. So we want to be, what did she say? To cross SLL at or above flight level 060. So looking at the chart here for the arrival, gives us a fair kind of leeway to a certain extent on the first waypoint. We can actually, yeah, I think we'll, okay. Let's go down to the lowest point on the Turgo waypoint, which is 110. I don't want to be too high, especially in a new aircraft that I'm not entirely used to. There's nothing worse than coming in too high and then having to lose a load of height, and that of course means you've then got bags of energy to try and get rid of. There we go. So we're in the descent now. Interesting. So my plate is saying under flight level 200 and above flight level 110, and the Garmin is saying level at flight level 100. So yeah, interesting, the difference. Maybe that is the difference between the new air rack and the old air rack, maybe. Maybe I'm just looking at a different waypoint. Turgo. Yeah, looking at a different waypoint. Yeah. So yeah, that is actually correct for the next waypoint. That is correct. That's fine. Okay, checklists. Let's start trying to be a little bit proper about this, alright? Cruise, done that. Descent, altimeters, local. Well, we're descending at flight level at the moment. So, which kind of makes me think that's what we're meant to do, are we not? If you're saying to descend to a flight level, when it switches to feet, that's when we start setting to local. I think that's my understanding of it. Anyway, as I say, I'm no bleeding expert, as you probably realise by now. Right, pulse lights on. That pulses the landing lights. I wonder if that's a US thing. Not sure. The icing systems we don't need to worry about. Ignition on if heavy precipitation. We haven't got any. Fuel check and balance is good, and auto fuel selector. Shift to fullest, and the fullest is the right tank, and what we're in at the moment, we're in the right tank, so that's absolutely fine. That's on there. Next checklist is the before landing. So that's absolutely fine. I'm just having a quick read of that just to get ahead of it. Okay. So it feels alright. got a nice gentle descent coming down to Turgot. It's lovely and warm out there. Just imagine going to a nice beach now. There's Barcelona over there. God, I am sorry. Seriously, it wasn't bad enough me trying to talk French at the beginning. Now trying to say Barcelona in a remotely authentic Spanish way. It's just painful, isn't it? I should really give up the foreign languages, but I just think it really bothers me, especially because in my day job I have to deal with a lot of European people. I hate not being able to be fluent in their language when they're fluent in mine. It just feels, you know, almost like, hello, I'm British, you'll talk my language wherever I go in the world. Yes, you will. It just seems wrong. Someone once said to me that English is the kind of international business language, which maybe it is, and maybe that's why, but it seems always amazes me when I talk to people from other countries and they can speak English so well, and I think, my God, you know, I should be able to talk back in their language. And sometimes I think I can talk in a language. I was talking to a French colleague the other day, and not trying to be cocky or anything, I just greeted him and asked him how he was in French, and his face lit up and he started talking back to me in fluent French. I didn't have a clue what he was talking about at first, because it takes a while to process what he says, translate it in the old grey computer, and then think of a response. There's that kind of lag time, but in that lag time you have that quite uncomfortable moment where I'm looking at him with this fixed grin, almost like rigor mortis on my face, while my brain works out what to say back to him, and he's obviously thinking, are you not going to say anything back to me, or are you just going to stand there like a zombie? Yeah. So the descent is going quite nicely, and we're just crossing over Turgot within the altitude limitations. So happy with that. The next point we need to be at flight level 100, so we'll carry on our descent. Quite happy to do that. Oh, something I meant to arm it. Something I meant to do actually was to test climbing using IAS. So I must do that on the next flight. I must admit, I started with the King Air. I started doing climbs, and I don't think I did descents that way, but I certainly did climbs using IAS mode on the autopilot. Right, so at this stage now, I'm going to put we'll put prop onto full beans. See the difference in the sound? It just sounds like one angry bee, doesn't it? You can see the difference and why you would potentially want to rack the prop back a bit just to improve the sound quality of your flight. Let's have a quick look actually at our okay. let's see. Where is it? Procedure. Oh, we have got the approach loaded up. Okay. And we have the transition at SLL, which is correct. Okay. Oh, yeah, there it is. I can see it. Just that loop there. That matches what I'm seeing on my Navigraph, so that looks about right. Don't think it's going to give us any nasty surprises. So, just remembering, where is it? Let's go back. What was the QNH was 1024. Must remember that. At Cell. So at BL459, which is our next point, which is here, it is flight level 100. At Cell, SLL, it's 6,000 feet, so that's the point at which I want to be
TBM
putting...
Romeo Mike Sierra, contact Barcelona, approach on 135.27. Have a good afternoon.
Approach on 135.27. TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Or was it approach on 135.27? Transfer. Thank you. Right, I'm not sure. Okay.
Romeo Mike Sierra, contact approach on 135.27.
Contact approach on 135.27. TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. Why is it doing that? This is what it did before. 135.27. 135. One, 3, 5, 2, 7. Transfer. God damn it! It's doing it again. Okay, let's concentrate on flying the plane. So we're coming up. That's fine. So we need to descend 6 when we get to that point. See how it's 135.27. Approach on 135.27. Okay, so there's no 5 after it, but 135.27.0. It was okay. So it's not that because it won't let me change that. If I now transfer, why is it doing that? If anybody can tell me, is that something to do with the GTN or is that my software? My ATC software somehow interfering with it? I would really love to know, because this has never done this to me until today, where it's done it twice on this flight, and I would love to know if you know the answer to the question. I've typed in a frequency, I go to transfer it, and it rejects it, and it goes back again. So effectively now we've lost we've lost air traffic control, because I can't talk to them because it won't let me select the frequency. So anyway, I'm not going to waste any time trying to figure that out. So we're going to cancel ATC, unfortunately. That is a shame. Is there anything I can do? Contact approach on 135.27 TBM road.
Vertical track.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra radio check.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra, you are 24 nautical miles northwest of Joseph Tarradellas El Prat Airport. Cleared for the ILS approach to runway 24 right at Joseph Tarradellas El Prat with the SLL2W transition. Romeo Mike Sierra, you are loud and clear.
Okay. Cleared for the ILS approach to runway 24 right with the SLL2W transition, TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. So I think it might be the software. I don't know. I'm on whatever frequency I'm on, and when I asked for a radio check, it gave a clearance for the ILS approach out of nowhere, and then it gave me the radio check. So see if I can transfer the frequency now. No, still rejecting it. Okay, I'm not going to close the ATC program. I'm going to leave it open and just see what it does. But I'm going to assume that ATC is now non-responsive. Right, so we're just crossing over this point now. So I now need to punch in the QNH, which was 1024. 1024. Is it 1024? Yeah. So 1024. And let's go for descent. So we were told to be, was it level at 6,000 feet, but on the chart here, Garmin is saying between flight level 070 and flight level 100. My Navigraph is saying above 6,000 feet. So, yeah, I think maybe this is why. This is the difference between the Navigraph Air Rack and the GTN one. Maybe this has changed slightly. Excuse me, I am sorry about the coughing, I really am. So I'm going to stick with what Navigraph and ATC are telling me, or ATC was telling me until it went absolutely bonkers. It's going to be interesting now to see what ATC actually does. I'm obviously still connected to a controller that wants to give me instructions, so that's quite interesting. I've now got the approach activated. And the next one is saying between flight level 080 and 4,600 feet. So we certainly didn't cross-sell at the altitude that we were told to. We were above it there, so needed to have done probably a slightly more aggressive descent. So I'm going to come down to 4,600 feet now. As I'm sure you know, it's always a pain when you're doing this kind of procedures and you come in too high. A, you've got to lose that height, and B, you then potentially of building up all that speed, which is a right pain in the bum. Right, we can change our cabin altitude now. Start winding that down. Should have done really that at the top of descent, but you know that. You know that. Okay, that's tracking nicely. What do we want? We want the ILS frequency. 109.5. Let's get that plumbed in. So, oh, there we go. It's helpfully already in standby. Please tell me this is going to work. Yeah, good. So, not got the same problem with nav as with comms. Barcelona over there, looking rather resplendent. Nice pause there as I was looking out the window. I get that from time to time, also more recently, and I'm not sure why, but so I've got a belter of a internet connection now for the last few months, but every now and again I just get those kind of longer pauses, which normal flying it doesn't really matter, it doesn't really cause a problem, but when I'm recording like this, the pauses that you see in the simulator aren't matched in the recording, so it doesn't pause in real time. It literally it just kind of glitches on the recording. So if I don't correct those against me talking, you know, my voice track, then by the end of a flight, I could be saying, "Oh, I'm just going to deselect the flaps now," but it doesn't actually happen in the sim for about another 5 seconds. That was my professional pilot voice, by the way, in case you were wondering. Okay, so that's looking fine. So we're down, we're at the correct height, or minimum height. Just playing it safe now. Don't want any nasty surprises. Oh, let's have a look at checklist. That'd be a good idea. Before landing, cabin lights off, altimeter check. Done that. Decision height set. Decision height. Hang on a sec, I'm going to cough. Oh, excuse me. Right, decision height, I think we do that, don't we? No, we don't. Decision height. I'm trying to remember how to get decision height on there. Oh, it's here. Decision height, 200. We'll leave it at that. Quite happy to leave it at what Mr. TBM has got it set at. Fuel quantity imbalance, that's fine, they're okay. Inertial separator on under 200 knots. So I have chopped back on the power a little bit. Probably being a little bit too cautious if I'm honest, but anyway. Inertial separator is now on. Propeller lever max RPM, which it is. Landing gear, not quite yet. Flaps, not quite yet. Landing lights as required. Autopilot disconnect when we need to. Flaps full under 122 knots. Landing, we'll have the power lever arrival, reverse thrust when we need it, and all that kind of stuff. Master caution has come on because the inertial separator is on. We've got an indicator there, so that's absolutely fine. Okay. Okie dokie. So, we want to be at 2,300 feet at Tebla, which you can't see because I'm looking at the other thing. if I show you on here, where is it? Okay, well, it's kind of here. BL423, where is it? So it's BL415. So Tebler, there it is. There. So I do need to descend to get to that point. No, we've got a difference in the approach here. I can see it now. So on my the hell is it doing? It's suspended there for some reason. Rack it round now. Not quite sure why it did that. I was going to say there's a difference, but it's not. It's for some reason on the procedure plate. It's a nice smooth arc now, but in the GTN, it's kind of finished. It almost like it was waiting for me to tell it to make this turn. So that's what I've now done. And we need to start descending to 2,300 feet. Arm it. Getting a bit more comfortable in my chair. It really is, doing this kind of flying really does shake off the cobwebs, and it's a great way to learn an aeroplane. I'll come away from this, my first full IFR ATC flight, and I already know the areas that I need to work on. One of them being not to trust this ATC program at the moment. I don't want to blame the ATC program, but I'm not sure what's going on. It is a beta, to be fair, but I'm not sure why it's twice now. And this frequency change thing, I don't know. As I say, if you know why it won't let me change the frequency, if that's a GTN thing, let me know. I would really love to know. But that's exactly what it did before, but at a different frequency change point. So I'm blaming, well, I'm not really blaming the ATC program, but I'm kind of inferring that the ATC program has given me the wrong, or won't let me change frequency. But is it? It's the GTN that the error seems to be in. Let's try. I don't think the ATC program controls nav2, so actually in hindsight probably won't do a great deal. And dicking about with the radios when you're doing an approach is probably not a great way of spending your time. 135275. Okay, so COM2, it's quite happy for me to do that. No issues there. How's the height? Height's good. We're at the height that we're meant to be. Co-pilot Cat's just walked into the room, so any squawks, quacks, meows are not coming from me. will do. Just see if I can trigger the ATC again.
TBM Romeo Mike Sierra QNH is 1024 at Joseph Taradelas El Prat contact tower on 118.1.
Wow.
Have a nice day.
QNH is 1024 tower on 118.1 TBM Romeo Mike Sierra.
Romeo Mike Sierra tower frequency is 118.1.
That's what I said. Frequency is 118.1 TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. I think that was voice recognition. I wonder if this is where it's going wrong. So 118.1 transfer. Won't let me select tower. Okay. Won't let me select tower, so there's nothing.
Mike Sierra contact tower on 118.1.
Contact tower on 118.1 TBM Romeo Mike Sierra. 118.1 transfer. No, okay. So there's definitely something not right there, and I am not going to keep trying to get the ATC to work when I'm trying to fly the leading aeroplane. Oh, this is interesting. One of the pleasures of flying multiplayer on, which I don't normally have when I'm doing this kind of flight, is that we've got looks like we've got an aircraft on approach in front of us. Not great. So let's he's a big guy as well, and he's going quite slowly. So
Romeo Mike Sierra contact tower on 118.1.
I would do if I could change the frequency, trust me. Oh, hang on a minute, I just thought 118 com 1. I wonder if I can do it. I wonder if I can do it through. Okay, let's try it this way. No, okay, I need to fly the plane. This is not ideal coming up the chuff of a four engine.
Mike Sierra contact tower on 118.1.
Okay, so we're going to ignore ATC. Don't really want to be landing up the chuff of this four engine guy, but unfortunately this is the runway that we're on now. Actually, do you know what? We haven't got ATC anymore. ATC is not working because we can't get the frequency. Let's go. Let's do the sensible thing. Disconnect the autopilot. It's my own damn fault because I've got multiplayer set up. So I'm just going to bring it round. I'm just going to do a little circle just to try and put some distance between him and me, because bless him, for all I know he's doing a flight, he's been at it for ages, and the last thing he needs is some idiot in a TBM trying to ruin his landing. So this is unconventional. It's the one thing about pilot to ATC as well, is that obviously you know, unlike I guess if you're on VATSIM, my robot controller isn't looking at the other traffic like him, so you know, he's not providing separation on that aeroplane that's doing the same thing, so that doesn't work either. But that is so weird about those frequencies. Honestly, please, if you know the answer to that, I would love to know. I would love to know, in all the flights I've done in other aircraft, where I've used pilot to ATC with the GTN, I've never had that issue where it wasn't accepting the frequency and it was blocking it out. I don't think it's the TBM. I think it's probably something more to do with an update or something like that. But if you know the answer, I would love to know. Right, hopefully that's given us a bit of clearance on Jumbo Jim. Pardon the cough. Watch the climb there. Oh, the passengers in the back now are saying, Jesus Christ, what the hell is this pilot doing? Okay, now we can see the GTN has changed to V-Lock, so we've got the ILS now displaying on the HSI. So a little bit low. Let's do some trimming. Trim is your friend. Checklist. Okay, let's go gear down as we're under 178 knots. Let's have flap 2 down as well. Just 1 notch. Let's arrest this descent. We don't need to be descending like this. Check my head tracking again. Visual with the runway. Quick look around. Gear's good. T's and P's are good. Speed's fine. Landing lights on. Sorry, I'm all over the place because I'm looking over at the checklist and not concentrating on flying the damn thing. Let's get control again. Let's stop looking at other screens and let's fly the damn aeroplane. Let's get back into it. Nice and smooth, please. Gusty going on there. Wow. Noticed this in this aeroplane yesterday when I did the quick test flight. It does it's affected by wind gusts more than I thought it would be. As I've never flown a TBM in real life too high, so I don't know how realistic that is, but it certainly gets chucked around a bit as you get to lower levels like this. But maybe that's just the weather here today. Really got above the glide slope there. Wasn't great. Right, let's flappage all the way. Oof.
500.
Need to work hard with the yoke because it's all over the shop. Now we're too low. Christ. Guess it must be gusty here today. Bloody hell. Now we're too low on the glide slope, but I'm looking at it visually. looking at it visually. Duh. Gently bring it in. Oh, we did touch there. Yeah, I think we touched and went, Jesus Christ, and went up again. That was probably a pretty awful landing, let's be honest. Pretty awful landing. But interestingly, let's have a look. Let's have a quick look as we taxi off. Just looking at, I'm just starting a little nav map up just to see what the... Okay, so basically we had a bit of a crosswind, and I say a bit, it was hardly anything, but it was definitely gusting or turbulent. It's not really a good enough excuse, but I also find that when I'm doing a video like this, I'm not 100% focused because I'm how can I describe it? I'm spending time thinking about the video and thinking about talking to you and describing what I'm doing and not being absolutely 100% focused on what I'm doing. And on a gusty approach like that, you've just got to be in the zone. And that landing was pitiful. So, two things that I kind of noticed from that is that, one, I drifted off to the right. No shit, I hear you say. And secondly, I... yeah, it kind of drifted off. No, drifted off to the left. Did it drift off to the left? Drifted off to the... No, drifted off to the right, and then when it touched down, then suddenly I was flinging off to the left. That's because I wasn't 100% on point with the rudder. Should have been dancing on the rudder rather than talking to you. Simple. And even now, I'm trying to think of what went wrong with that landing. And I'm driving around this airport like an idiot, and there are multiplayer aircraft around, but luckily there's no one near me. I'm just going to pull in over here because we need to bring this in. So yeah, I think definitely a lesson from that landing is 100% focus. That's just obvious, isn't it? 100% focus and dance on the pedals, keep it straight. Keep on top of where the aircraft is in relation to the localizer and the glide slope. And also I noticed it felt like it floated a lot. I came down and I don't know if you saw, but you just heard the tyres kiss the ground, and then it didn't feel like it bounced, but it obviously took to the air again, and then it came back down again. So it seems quite floaty, and that's something that I need to get used to. Funny enough, when I landed yesterday, it didn't do that. So I need to have a look at that. I wonder if I was a bit too fast. I wish I'd checked now more closely what speed I was at. Anyway, there you go. I think, you know, like I said, a flight like this for me is all about learning. It's all about experience. I can walk away from this flight now with a list of things that went wrong, I did wrong, that I can learn from, and that's what it's all about. Otherwise, you don't learn anything. Right. So after landing checklist, de-icing systems are all off. Inertial separator is on. Bleed air as required. Just check the. Yeah, that's all okay. Weather radar we can turn off. Bleed air, actually, I'm going to turn off now. Weather radar off. Flaps are up. I've already done that. Taxi light is on. What an idiot. Taxied off the runway with the landing light still on. Strobe lights off. Pulse lights off. Oxygen supply off. So we go strobe. Oxygen off. Okay, shut down and securing. Parking brake set. There we go. Parking brake annunciator is illuminated. Bleed air is off. Taxi light is off because now we've actually parked up because we should have done that before. Duh. It's called after landing. Check this for a reason. Bleed air is off. Cabin differential is depressurized. I checked that before. Fan flow we can have off, and we can have air conditioning off now as well. Power lever idle for a minute. Well, it's definitely been idle for a minute with all the faffing around I've been doing. Gyro instruments all off. Boom, 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 boom. AFIS master off. Good night. There we go. AP trim master off. Radio master off. Propeller lever. Feather for 15 seconds. Two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and cut off. Oh, lovely sound. I just wanted you to hear that. Right, auxiliary boost pump off. Auto fuel selector. Manual. Tank selector. Pull for off. Pull for off. Oh, there we go. Thanks. Tank selector, not pank selector. Tank selector, pull for off. Inertial separator is off. Oh, you can hear it motoring. How cool is that? How cool is that? Didn't notice that with the engine running. All external lights are off. Interior lights are all off. Ignition is... I love that. You can actually hear the inertial separator motoring. What a lovely little detail. Generator switch is main. Selector source. We are now going to go off. And the crash switch lever goes down. There you go. So we closed down the aeroplane. So I hope you enjoyed that flight. It was very much warts and all, as I say. That's the whole point of it, really. It's me learning the aeroplane. It's me getting used to it. It's me learning some skills that I don't really use very often, and just reminding myself. And also, I can now go away from this, as I said, and I've got a list of things that I know next time I fly, I'll be taking that much more care of and keeping on top of. And also some things that I need to go away and have a look at, like that frequency change issue that I seem to be having there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the flight. If you do, if you've stayed with it this long, thank you for your patience, and please do consider subscribing to the channel. It just helps the channel to grow. And as I said before, we're on Twitch as well, link down below. If you want to come across there sometime and catch one of the live shows, how showbiz. Anyway, great to have you here. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again on the channel very soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.